Thank you so much, Sarah and Kaelyn, for joining us today to talk about Detroit Mercy Theater Company's production of The Twelfth Night. How are you two doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
I'm doing well, so happy to be here.
So you're currently in the rehearsal process for Twelfth Night. Kaelyn, how is that process kind of going right now?
Oh, it's been such a joy. For me, I am an alum of Detroit Mercy. So I'm really, really happy to get back to my roots and get back to just loving and enjoying acting again. But I'm so excited to be in this new space and our new Black Box Theater. And the rehearsal space is full of energy and light and love and excitement.
I am kind of wondering. You said you were an alumni. What brought you back? What was it? Something about the story specifically you're like, I have to be a part of?
So I actually just recently moved back from New York. So I
Okay.
graduated from Detroit Mercy in 2022. And as soon as I graduated, I moved to New York. I had an apprenticeship for about 9 months. And I was in New York for about 2.5 years. And just recently moved back. And Sarah reached out to me in the summer and asked me if I wanted to be a part of the production. And I didn't even hesitate. I'm like, of course. Acting has always been my first love, but I haven't performed in 3 years since I've graduated, so I'm really excited.
Wow, what is that like to step back in after 3 years? I know even if it's a passion, sometimes it's a little scary to be like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah, I definitely had to, like, look at some notes from college and kind of, like, refresh my memory a little bit, but because, I've been so in tune with the performance space, even though I haven't actually been on stage, I've done some directing, which I've learned from the best, my mentor here. I've done some directing and things, but it has been very different to actually to be on stage. So yeah, I felt a little rusty at first, but I don't know, Sarah. What do you think? Do I still got
I
it?
think you're doing fabulously. Like it's so delightful to watch you on stage and especially in this new space. So some of the um thought behind this was so we obviously have student actors because we are Detroit Mercy Theater Company. We're at University of Detroit Mercy. But some of our mission is to also have our students work with working professionals and alumni to get that mentorship, to get that real world experience, to get those connections.
That's awesome.
Kaylyn's one of our success stories. Kaylyn was in New York at New York City Center doing it. Kaylyn's been working in theater education since she's been back. But in celebration of this brand new Detroit Mercy Black Box Theater, which we're opening with this show, we wanted to kind of, I was thinking I wanted to kind of celebrate the legacy of the theater company by integrating specifically alumni professionals with our theater students, as well as our department chair, Andrew Papa, steps on stage as well. So it's kind of a celebration of of all of the company and everything that's kind of been before and everything that's coming and just a really wonderful testament to how this space and this place can connect us all.
I think it's exciting because it kind of shows like where you've been and how you've grown. But like, this is the starting point, the next chapter for what's going to happen with this theater.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. It's so we got an anonymous $2 million gift to build this space. Yeah, I know it's pretty it's amazing. And so they moved forward with the project and have turned essentially it's the lower level of our student union building into this great black box space. Detroit Mercy Theater Company in its theater on campus or theater at Detroit Mercy has been around since basically the inception of the university in the late 1800s. There's been theater on campus. The company itself has been around for 55 seasons. And we've been a number of different places. I was creating like a thing for the program about all the different spaces that we've been over the last number of years. And we've been there's an architecture building. We were in Chapel Hall, which is one of our residence halls. We've been off campus, down at the Bowl. That's the one that you've been to. The
Correct.
Bowl
Yeah.
Theater. Yeah. We went to Marygrove. We've been a number of different places. And so to have this permanent, essentially home now for the company just opens up so many doors for the community, for our students, for what we're able to do. The students are learning and growing in this. I was over there an hour ago, and somebody is painting, a set, and someone's backstage pulling props, and there's someone in the costume shop, one of our students in the costume shop, building part of the set pieces, or the costume pieces, and it's just we weren't able to do that at this level when we had to kind of pack everything up and move downtown. And that space is phenomenal. I love that space, but it was not our space. And this gets to be our space. And so to kind of christen it with this joyful adaptation of Twelfth Night is just really exciting. And just kind of, you're right, the start of a new era for us.
Before we jump into the story and stuff, I do, have to ask you, Sarah, because you're kind of wearing lots of hats. You're managing director, you're taking care of all of the press and stuff like that, but you're also being a director in this show as well. What is it like to kind of step and be the director in this first show in the new theater?
I am so honored to be the director of the first show in the new theater. Yes, we are a small department, and so many of us wear like many hats. So, like I said, our department chair is also acting on stage for this show. So, being a small department, you kind of you get the joy of doing it all. But I think it's also, kind of, I think the reality for a lot of people who work in regional theater, is you don't just kind of have one job. You kind of get to learn a lot about a lot of different jobs. But as the director, I'm so honored. And it's been great because I've been able to learn with the students what the space is.
It's so fresh and new.
It has a new car smell. Kaelyn, wouldn't you agree? It kind of has like new car.
Yes, it does. Yes, it's like a brand new toy.
It's like a brand new toy.
You should have seen, Brian, how excited we were on that first day of rehearsal. And Sarah, if I can add, there was a moment when Sarah saw us warming up for the first time, and she said that she got a little emotional, and that's how we all felt. It was so exciting.
It really was. It was an emotional moment for me because it's like not this. I call us our little ragtag nomadic theater, that we were doing before, and we were doing incredible stuff. We were, winning awards for the work we did. Kaelyn was in our production of Antigone in 2021 that won a national award at the Kennedy Center,
Congratulations.
American Festival. Yeah, so like we were doing great stuff, but it was to like be in this space and be like, oh my gosh, this is for us. This is for us and our students, and this is home. It was a very emotional moment to think about how far we've come, and the big dreams that people dreamed to get here, and all the work that went into it, because it was a process. So it was a huge moment. Yeah, I did. I got a little emotional. I don't get emotional that often, but in that moment, I got a little teary.
Well, I think that it makes sense because, Kaelyn, like you kind of are, you left, you've kind of seen some of the world, you came back, and like, so we're expecting change. But Sarah, you've spent through every step of this as they got the award building the theater. There is a real emotional component of finally seeing that, like, oh, these kids, these adults, these people who have been here are really enjoying this new space, and we get to enjoy it together.
And especially like at a time when, the arts are not prioritized. The arts are, I would say, under attack in kind of in a lot of ways. Where we are now, people are not investing in artistic spaces, and artistic places and artistic programs. And so for our university and to say, you know what, no, we're gonna put our money where our mouth is, and we're gonna build you guys a theater. That's a huge thing too. And to have that investment, to have that support of a lot of people, it's our university administration, it's our student and staff and faculty, it's our alumni, it's the community. I mean, it's you, Brian, it's you, I mean, to have like your support is it's huge. To say that these students are worthy, and their art is worthy, that means the world.
Absolutely. So turning to the show a little bit, Kaelyn, your first show back at the Detroit Mercy and stuff, and it's a William Shakespeare play. What is that like for you to step into the world of William Shakespeare?
Oh my gosh. Again, it's like blowing off the dust of like some old boots or something. I'm like, I haven't done Shakespeare a play since I was in high school, which was almost
Okay.
like 10 years ago. So having people like my former professor Andrew Papa, who was with us, kind of giving us an intro again to Shakespeare and giving us those tools of the language and making it our own. Those tools have been very, very beneficial.
Sure.
And it's a comedy. It's fun and it's ours. And Sarah has done such a great job of putting her own spin on it, with incorporating music, and it's fun. There's some dancing and all the things.
Bringing even more life to William Shakespeare.
Yes.
So, Sarah, what is the story of the Twelfth Night? Because as I was kind of telling you before this, I wasn't familiar with this show before kind of researching it.
Yeah, so it's interesting too because I'm kind of in the same boat, right? Like I'd seen the show. I'm gonna say like when I was in high school, and I remember one very distinct moment from it and nothing else. And it's there's a funny kind of sword fight, and I remember that, and that's all I remember. And so when we were looking at shows, we wanted something fun, something upbeat, something celebratory for this grand opening. And we wanted Shakespeare because not only do we feel that there's universal themes there that can be applied, especially in Twelfth Night, which is a very joyful celebratory script, but also academically it fit within our kind of cycle that we do to in order for our students to get a comprehensive training, right? So
Okay.
we were like, oh, last year we did I can't remember what we did last year. It was a very blurry year for me. But a couple
The
years ago
Witch.
we did Witch. Thank you. Yes, exactly. I was very pregnant at the time, so everything was very actually gave birth in between show weekends. So but like 2 years ago we did our we do a theater for young audiences. So in our cycle we came up and we're like, well, we want to do a Shakespeare too because that's a great learning tool for our students. So kind of looking at it, we thought, well, Twelfth Night, thinking about Twelfth Night, the holiday is kind of the end of the 12 days of Christmas. So it's very, very fun. It's about role reversal. In that holiday is about role reversal, where kind of the servants of the house would be king and queen for the day, essentially. So the actual story of Twelfth Night follows these twins, Viola and Sebastian, which is close to my heart because I have twins, a boy and a girl. Yeah. So they are shipwrecked, and then separated. And so in order to kind of survive what that means, Viola dresses up like a young man and then decides to serve Duke Orsino, who is actually in love with the Countess Olivia, but she is not in love with him. So Viola falls in love with Duke Orsino. So you have Viola in love with Orsino, Orsino in love with Olivia, but Olivia, through kind of her interactions with Viola, who's disguised as a young boy Cesario, falls in love with him. So we have that kind of wonderful love triangle,
Sure.
of like people loving but no, not loving back. And then on top of that, we have Kaelyn as Mariah, kind of when this Shakespeare loves like a side plot of like people going crazy and doing mischief. And so Kaelyn's kind of the leader of this trio of men that and they basically are playing a prank on Malvolio, who is the head servant, because he is too pompous, and so they feel like he needs to get taken down a notch. And so they kind of set him up for failure in a lot of ways there. So they're very hilarious. There's a lot of drunken revelry on their side. So it's just a really good time at all. And of course, there's a Shakespearean comedy. So in the end, everything gets righted. People fall in love. There's music, there's dancing, there's lots of laughs. There's, there's, of course, because it's Shakespeare, there's, body humor. So, it's just, it's a good time. I'm having a good time with it. And with the adaptation we chose, is an adaptation by a man named Mark Palmieri. And it's a solid 90 minutes. I was 90 seconds. That would be a very quick Shakespeare.
So that's in and out. You're done.
In and out. To be or not to be, and then you leave. But no, so it's 90 minutes. So he kind of cut a lot of the excess out, and so we're really just going to focus on the story and the characters.
I was literally in the middle of this. I was like, this sounds like She's the Man. Then I realized that I do know an adaptation of Twelfth Night, and I was just like, wow, you missed the connection at the most important time.
There was a very specific time in the 90s and early 2000s where every Shakespeare was adapted into like a rom-com for teens. And She's the Man is absolutely 12th Night. So yes.
And
Yeah,
now
in fact, Sarah, you even told some of us to look at rom-coms. I think it was Duke Orsino and Sebastian to, for research purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think we lose a lot of times. We get bogged down in Shakespeare, like language and feelings and all this, and and I Shakespeare at the end of the day, especially his comedies, are really, I mean, they were made to entertain and laugh, right? They were made to allow people a chance to escape kind of from their lives. They were a good time. So we really kind of focused on that. Like I kind of approached it as a romantic comedy because otherwise it's kind of sad. Like in a lot of ways,
sure.
like there's a lot of like people, you're separated from your twin and you're. So I think if we look at it for the lens of a rom-com where like the world doesn't actually have any pain in it, people are put in situations where it's not, they're not happy, but we know at the end of the day it's going to turn out okay, then we can all relax and have a good time. So
For sure. Kaelyn, I want to talk about your character and specifically kind of like maybe their narrative and their motivation throughout Twelfth Night.
Yes, so Mariah is Olivia's chambermaid. And she is, like Sarah said, she is mischievous. She is the cause of the problem. She is stirring the pot the entire time. And I guess she is just really, really fun. But also she can be loyal at times, but for the most part, we don't really see that loyal side of her. We see her planting the letter. We see her kind of just really gunning for Malvolio. And yeah.
When it comes to your characters such as that, like what is your process for developing that? Or like how do you make that character kind of your own? Because I mean Shakespeare's been around forever, you know?
Yes. So something that helped me during our process was the character files. So we basically had an assignment, not really an assignment, supposed to be fun, but also helpful for our work as actors, is putting together a PowerPoint of pictures and songs that relate to our character. So things like what song is like the theme for our development throughout the entire show. What colors would we identify as? And I felt like a fiery red because she's a firecracker. She comes in hot. Just wait and see. When you come and see the show, you're gonna see she always has these bold entrances and exits, and she's always keeping everyone in line. And also looking at people, I kind of went back to my childhood from the Nickelodeon and Disney Channel days of what character would Mariah be? And it kind of made me think of, like Drake and Josh, that sister
Okay.
Megan, who's always like, what's next? What do I do? I know.
Always
Always,
scheming.
yes, always planning something. You never know what she's up to. So that really helped with this process.
What I love about that too, though, much like Megan, it sounds like Mariah's kind of always a step ahead of everybody, you know, always like that person that is like critically thinking about everything and finding out like this is what needs to happen next for my plan to go through.
Right, of course. But then again, like Sarah said, it's all in fun. You don't want to seriously hurt anyone. We're not
Sure.
really trying to hurt Malvolio. I mean, obviously we feel bad in the end, but it's like, it's okay. Let's dance.
Shakespeare has that wonderful words, at the end where they're just like, let's all laugh at Malvolio. Ha 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 ha. Great, everything's fine now. And like you're like, you don't get that necessarily get that like great resolution of oh no, how do we, how do we reckon with what we just did? But we're finding it and we're making it work. But there are times, I mean, there's several instances in Shakespeare where you kind of have that like run up against those moments where you're like, well, this doesn't really resolve in a satisfying way for a modern audience. But we're gonna buy it. We're gonna buy what we're doing, and we'll move on past it. So
So, Sarah, for you, what is kind of your developmental process for bringing the show from page to stage? Like, how do you approach a project like this?
Yeah, that's a that's a great question. Everything's a little different, you know. For me, where I kind of locked in with this show, because obviously you get the script and you read the script, but especially with Shakespeare, Shakespeare is so meant to be spoken as opposed to read, and you can absolutely read it and analyze it that way, and that's a great way to do it. But for me to really understand it, it's like I have to hear it, and I have to hear the rhythms, and I have to hear the kind of the ebb and flow of the conversation, because he did write. I mean, he didn't sit down and write one manuscript. He sat down and he wrote like lines for each actor and like their cue line. So you would basically get like a piece of paper that had your cue line and then your line. So you didn't actually know as an actor in Shakespeare's time like what was happening all the time to other people around you. So my process, I really locked in is when I kind of was mulling over what the role of music in this is a big deal.
Sure.
We have a character who is the musician, and I was like, well, what is that going to look like? Is it someone playing a ukulele? Is it someone playing an instrument? And I was kind of going back and forth, and then after some conversation with our costume designer about time period and kind of where we're thinking of setting it, she was really saying, gender norms really we're starting to the lines were starting to blur more in kind of the early part of the 20th century. So I was like, okay, well, like 30s and 40s is a time like aesthetically that I really like. What was happening, politically was rough, but like aesthetically, like the lines were pretty, right? The clothes were pretty. And I was like, well, what if the musician is just literally an old fashioned like radio that gets carried around? And so that's where I locked in, and I'm like, there it is. Like that's where it landed. And so we started kind of with that and the music that go along with the language. And kind of finding that the kind of jazzy sound, the kind of lots of like horns, there's some swing in there. And really finding that led me to kind of where we are. Plus, I was watching so much Gilded Age at the time, and I was like, I love these mansions. Can we set it in a Gilded Age mansion but in like the 40s? And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. So that's kind of where the impetus for this came from. And then of course, like, the rom-com element, right? So it was like, how can we lift out Kaelyn knows I love a bit, right? Like I love a shtick. And so yeah, I mean you have several of them, right?
Yes. She's always like, "Can you do this thing where yeah, just like that."
And like and so like finding that humor and finding the comedy and finding the love and finding the fun in it, just that's kind of where it started and where it's gone from. And we have faced some challenges. We with getting into the space and kind of figuring everything out, and like, do we have toilet paper in the bathroom kind of thing, like
Sure.
these little, oh, Kaylin has thoughts on that.
Yes, and the water bottles or where we refill our water, having to go outside, but
Oh yeah, right. Like, so just kind of navigating this new space has like kind of, but everyone's kept the joy through it, and everyone's kept like the upbeat energy. And I think that's been really helpful in this rehearsal process of like feeling the air and like feeling the energy. Yeah. And so it's just as we go into tech tonight, because we're going into tech tonight. I really,
Congratulations.
thank you. We'll sleep again one day. We'll sleep when we're dead. But yeah, felt the rehearsal process itself has never felt taxing, for sure.
Has there been challenges though, Kaylin, to this role or this show? Like that's either pushed you to in your craft or challenged you as an actor?
um that's a good question. I think kind of going back to the beginning of just getting in back in acting again, just for me personally. Nothing crazy or or anything in particular, but I guess I will say that some of the other roles that I've done have been younger. I typically tend to play younger because I'm 4'11". And I refer to myself as a 26-year-old teenager. So this is actually one of my more mature roles aside from Antigone. Antigone was actually my biggest role, and that was a different approach, definitely more serious, with it being a tragedy. But in this I would have to say just being older and being more mature, and I'm a lady. This is the
Find
first role that I've done actually as, like, a real adult.
And it's interesting because you are like a mentor to the students too. So it is,
Yes,
I think that would
yes.
really be an interesting kind of way to come back and be older on the stage where you were the student.
Yes, yes, definitely. I definitely find myself remembering what it's like to be in their shoes and, having long days in different classes, 4 3 classes a day, and then having to have like a side job as well. And then, balancing rehearsals, so it's like, okay, I'm remembering it. So yeah, you're right, Sarah, being that mentor, because when I was here the last time, I was 22 and figuring it out.
it's like that moment where all of a sudden you're like they're looking for the adult in the room and you are the adult now and you're like what
Oh my gosh. It only
oh,
gets worse. It only gets worse. I think as the oldest person on this podcast, it only gets worse from here. Cause yeah, then yeah. You're just like, oh no, I'm supposed to know things.
what is that like though, Kaylin, to like help I'm gonna use this word, I don't know if this is right, but like inspire these younger minds, like you're kind of as the mentor, that's I would imagine that's both has some pressure to it but also is probably very rewarding.
Obviously, yes. I just find myself being very transparent with them. It was so funny last night. There was someone who asked me about the process of possibly adding on a minor or maybe changing majors, and I know what that's like. When I first came to Detroit Mercy, I was actually a transfer student, and I was a communications major.
Okay.
And I tell this story all the time, but Sarah's actually a big reason why I decided to major in theater and actually pursue acting again. So I know firsthand what that's like. And even though I have graduated and I am an alum and I, have a big girl job, every single day I'm still figuring it out just like them. So
Sure.
just finding those moments to be relatable, but also giving them advice and, tips and tricks on what I did when I was in their shoes, and um, things that maybe I would change, yeah, things that I feel like I could do better if I could do it all over again.
That's so cool to kind of impart that wisdom on them and be able to maybe make their experience even easier than you had it.
Yes, of course.
Sarah, going back to the challenges, how do you feel like this show has challenged you as a director?
Yeah. I mean, definitely opening a new space is, kind of going in blind to what is it took a little bit longer for us to get into the physical space than we had anticipated. So we had hoped to be in the physical space during the summer and kind of get used to it there, but because of just because of construction and the way kind of everything works, we were not in until the beginning of the school year. And so kind of being like, in theory, this is what'll happen. Having that not having those definites challenges me because I find a lot of security when I have like my boundaries to play within. And so it was like, well, maybe this will happen. And it was like, okay. ugh. So that's definitely been a challenge, and a wonderful career defining moment for me of trying to of having the privilege to open an artistic space. And kind of like all the wonderful things that go with it, but also all the challenges of just realizing that you need a sponge here.
For
Things are
sure.
brand new. So kind of trying to do that alongside this show. The other thing is, I had never directed a full length Shakespeare before. I'd done scenes. I had done other things. Obviously, I've done a number of full length productions, but I've never done a full length Shakespeare before. So approaching that was a personal challenge. Making sure that my concept was clear enough to understand is something that I struggled with because Shakespeare Shakespeare has, in a lot of ways, these gorgeously defined and yet broad characters and storylines that you can do a lot with. They're very universal themes, and because they're so universal, you can go a lot of different ways with them. And so to be like, okay, what do I actually want to focus on, and to have to make those decisions, that, there that is that's a lot of power. It was I don't so I hope it translates. I don't know, Kaylin, I think we're having a good time. I do think it's translating quite well, at least on my end.
It's so fun. It's so
Good.
fun.
I just need that. I need the affirmation. That's, I guess, what's happening right now.
So Sarah had mentioned a lot about themes from Twelfth Night. And I was wondering, Kaylin, what themes resonate the most with you?
I would have to say identity for sure. I think that while being in this production, it's kind of like an ode to my younger self because when I started off doing theater, things were so different, especially in the theater community, with just the idea of sticking in one box. And, as it pertains to preferences and gender identity. And obviously with Shakespeare, there's a lot of that with gender fluidity. And so that's something that I definitely resonate with, especially in this time where we're in. Um, it's so fun, and it's definitely like hugging my younger self, and I'm sure others in the cast feel the same way.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Sarah, how about for you? What themes resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go with what Kaylin said too, I mean, there is definitely the theme of identity, and we're trying with the set to kind of indicate that by nodding to the fact that you cannot, your true nature will always be revealed. And so we kind of have this really lovely side that's very manicured, and then we have this intrusion of this kind of wildness coming in, which I think, um Viola will always, has to be revealed as Viola and not Cesario at some point. And Malvolio has to be revealed, and there's always a true nature element to it that comes in. I'm really um family, and weirdly there's an element of grief that kind of stuck out to me at the very beginning of this process. Olivia's in mourning for her father and brother who have passed, which is why she won't marry anyone. And then of course, the siblings losing each other and thinking the other one is dead. The twins, and being a new parent and new mother of twins myself, there is that understanding of what would that look like if my twins were not together, and kind of how that beats through the play, as almost a lot of the things that are done are kind of as a coping mechanism, right?
Sure.
So, and then of course love. You can't go wrong with love as a theme, especially at this time when I think a lot of us could just use a chance to laugh and have fun and believe and hope again. I really feel strongly that this show is going to be that for a lot of people. Just a chance to kind of enjoy themselves for 90 minutes, and you know and share in this great story that has a happy ending. So that's kind of where I've landed. It's many themes. It's just so many themes.
And that makes it layered, and it has so much depth for anybody who attends. So thank you both for being here with me. It was such a pleasure talking with both of you.
It is so always, always, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Ryan. It was lovely meeting you.
So Detroit Mercy Theater Company's production of Twelfth Night runs from November 7th through the 16th. So get your tickets now, and we'll see you there.